Alright guys, so welcome. This is my very first YouTube video I'm ever making. I just started a channel called The Maz Factor. My name is Mazin, hence the Maz Factor. The point of this channel is going to be to highlight various political news stories, current events that are going on across the world, especially those stories that are not fully or accurately represented in mainstream media, and especially those that are suppressed from the mainstream media. So today's video, I'm going to focus on the case that South Africa brought against the state of Israel. They brought a case against Israel in the International Court of Justice, accusing them of genocide. So I'm going to go through how the actual court works, as far as like what judges it makes up, how do they come to the decisions. Also, I'm going to give you guys a brief history of the case itself and how we got to this point, and then I'll let you guys know what to expect further as far as where the case is going to go from here. So going on to the case and how we got here. So if you look here on the screen that I'm going to bring up, you can see an official press release from the International Court of Justice on December 29th, 2023. And as you see here, South Africa today filed an application instituting proceedings against Israel before the International Court of Justice. According to the application, as it says, acts and omissions by Israel are genocidal in character, as they are committed with the requisite specific intent to destroy Palestinians in Gaza as a part of the broader Palestinian national, racial, and ethnic group, and that the conduct of Israel through its state organs, state agents, and other persons and entities acting on its instructions or under its direction, control, or influence in relation to Palestinians in Gaza is in violation of its obligations under the Genocide Convention. So as you can see, I mean, this is basically the worst accusation you can give to any state. It's the worst crime in the entire world, and South Africa is accusing Israel of committing genocide. So if I go further on in this document, you can see it's not just that South Africa is asking the court to label Israel as genocidal. They actually have a specific result that they want to get from this court, and it says it right here. The applicant requests the court to indicate provisional measures in order to protect against further severe and irreparable harm to the rights of the Palestinian people under the Genocide Convention. Okay, so basically what that's saying is, which is very important, is that South Africa is not just putting this trial to embarrass Israel. They actually want a direct action to take place. They want them to basically stop doing it. They want them to stop committing genocide. That's the result that South Africa is hoping for. So if we go into kind of how we got to this point, you can look at the actual application that South Africa filed against Israel, and it's an 84-page document. I read the whole document. It's actually it's one of the most comprehensive, well footnoted, well researched, well documented documents you can read. It's in a way it's almost a handbook of almost every major atrocity that Israel has committed against the Palestinians since 1967. And you can go on my channel. I have a full video going into the details of this entire application, because it's so big and rich in details that I dedicated a separate video for it. But just to give you a quick overview, I'm going to bring it up on the screen here. So as you can see here, application instituting proceedings. So if you go to page 59, this is where this 84-page document, this section has gotten the most buzz in the media. This is right here, as you can see, expressions of genocidal intent against the Palestinian people by Israeli state officials and others. So this is getting the most buzz because this is about 6 pages of quotes made directly from Israeli officials, and they compiled them all into one quick document. Again, I have a full video going into these details, but just for this, I'll give you just two quick quotes from it, just so you get the idea of it. All right, so as you can see here, on November 10th, the Israeli Minister of National Defense, Ben-Gvir, clarified the government's position in a televised address. Quote, "To be clear, when we say that Hamas should be destroyed, it also means those who celebrate, those who support, and those who hand out candy. They're all terrorists, and they should also be destroyed." So basically, it's not just Hamas should be destroyed. Anybody who supports them, anybody who cheered them on, anybody involved whatsoever is a terrorist. Another one that I want to highlight here, the Israeli Minister of Heritage on November 1st. He posted on Facebook. Look at this. The north of the Gaza Strip, more beautiful than ever. Everything is blown up and flattened. Simply a pleasure for the eyes. we must talk about the day after. In my mind, we will hand over lots to all those who fought for Gaza over the years and to those evicted from Gush Katif, which is a former Israeli settlement. So this scumbag is basically saying, blow up the entire Gaza Strip, and then we'll give anybody who fought and sacrificed, any Israelis who fought and sacrificed, can move in there. These are the types of things that these people are saying. Now, I'll just give one more example before I move on to the next thing. So, as you can see here, an Israeli army reservist on October 11th was brought in to give a motivational speech he was brought in to give a motivational speech to the Israeli troops right before they were going to invade Gaza. Again, this is October 11th, and it's on the document. Here's his quote. This was his motivational speech to the Israeli troops. Be triumphant and finish them off, and don't leave anyone behind. Erase the memory of them, erase them, their families, mothers and children. These animals can no longer live. Every Jew with a weapon should go out and kill them. If you have an Arab neighbor, don't wait, go to his home and shoot him. We want to invade, not like before. We want to enter and destroy what's in front of us and destroy those houses, then destroy the one after it. With all of our forces, complete destruction, enter and destroy. As you can see, we will witness things we've never dreamed of. Let them drop bombs on them and erase them. These are the type of things that they're saying. And this is a big reason why South Africa filed this application and accused them of genocide, because it shows clear intent. All right, so that's kind of how we got here. There's genocidal intent. It's all in the application. You can watch the other video for it. So after they filed that application, I'll bring up the next press release from the International Court of Justice. So this one here, as you can see, took place on January 3rd. And right here it shows that basically the ICJ, they agreed to, they saw the application, they agreed to, they accepted the application, and they agreed to hold the hearing. As you can see right here, The Hague, on Thursday the 11th and Friday the 12th of January, the International Court of Justice will hold public hearings at the Peace Palace in The Hague. So they saw the application, they thought it was worthy enough to hold a public hearing on it. So this next part's important too. So as you can see here, in its request, South Africa asked the court to indicate provisional measures in order to protect against further severe and irreparable harm to the rights of Palestinian people under the Genocide Convention. So this part's important because it's not just that South Africa is accusing Israel of genocide and they just want Israel to be labeled as genocidal. That's not the point of it. They're actually doing this case because it specifically says they're asking the court to issue provisional measures. Basically, they want the court to tell Israel that you're no longer allowed to commit genocide. So it's not just about labeling them. It's not just about embarrassing Israel. It's actually they want them to stop committing genocide. And as you can see here, the oral arguments are going to take place over 2 days, Thursday and Friday. So tomorrow and Friday, between 10 a.m. and noon, Swiss time. On January the 11th, South Africa is going to give their oral arguments, and then on the 12th, Israel is going to give their oral arguments. And as you can see here, if anybody happens to be in Switzerland, or you happen to be traveling around Europe, and your idea of a good time is to go witness a genocide court, it's actually open to the members of the public. So it tells you right here, members of the public wishing to attend the hearings are requested to present themselves at the main gate of the Peace Palace 40 minutes before the start of the public session. So if anybody happens to be there and you want to go, show up 40 minutes before, show your ID, and you might actually get to go and sit in and watch the trial itself. And then more so, if you can't make it to Switzerland and go to the Peace Palace, it says it right here, the hearings are going to be live streamed on demand and in two official languages, English and French. So the hearings are actually going to be publicly broadcasted, I think, on YouTube on the ICJ website. And again, the first hearing is going to take place tomorrow, and that's South Africa giving their oral arguments, 3 hours of oral arguments. And then on Friday, Israel gets a chance to give their 3 hours of their oral arguments. After each hearing, I'm going to do a reaction video. I'm going to cut together a highlight reel of the oral arguments, and I'll do a reaction video of that, so you can look forward to that. Okay, so next, let's go into how the court works. Okay, so I'm going to bring up here, this is directly from the International Court of Justice website. I mean, all these documents that I'm showing on the screen, I'm going to put the links in the description, so if anybody wants to see them themselves, they can, but I just put them all up here for ease. So, okay, how the court works. As you can see here, the court may entertain two types of cases: legal disputes between states and requests for advisory opinions. In the case of South Africa and Israel, it's the former. So this is a legal dispute between two states, South Africa and Israel. Now, as you see, the proceedings may be instituted in one of two ways, and in the case of South Africa, it's the latter, right, as you see here, by means of an application. The application, which is unilateral in character, is submitted by an applicant state against a respondent state. Okay? So just to give you a little bit more context of how the court actually works, contentious proceedings, which is what's happening right now, the legal term is this is a contentious proceeding between two states. So it includes a written phase, where both parties exchange written pleadings, and then there's an oral phase consisting of public hearings. So it says right here that the written pleadings are not made available to the press and public until the opening of oral proceedings, and then only if the parties have no objection. So again, there's two parts of it. There's written pleadings, okay, and then there's an oral argument. Now the oral argument is automatically open to the public. We can all see it live. The written pleadings are only available once the oral arguments begin, and only if one of the countries doesn't object to it. I mean, from what I've seen, South Africa most likely will have no objection, so I assume that they're going to release their written pleadings to the public. Israel, I would assume, is going to object to it. I would assume that Israel is not going to release their written pleadings to the public, but we'll see. If both of those written pleadings are made public, I'll go ahead and read them, and I'll do a little video on that as well. Okay, now let's move on to after. What happens after the oral proceedings? So again, we have 2 days of oral arguments. And it says it right here, after the oral proceedings, the court deliberates in camera and then delivers its judgment at a public sitting. The judgment is final, binding on the parties to a case, and without appeal. Okay, so you have 2 days of hearings, and then they're going to deliberate. From what I've read, people think the deliberation will take 1 to 2 weeks, and then as it says right here, the court is going to give a public judgment. They're going to record it on camera and they release it in a public sitting. They'll let you know the verdict of the case. Okay, so let's go into, which is very important, the members of the court. Okay, because after all, it's the members of the court that are going to decide the fate of this case. And again, going to the International Court of Justice website, you can see right there the members of the court. So if you look here, the International Court of Justice is composed of 15 judges elected to 9-year terms of office by the United Nations General Assembly and the Security Council. Okay, so it's a 15-judge panel, and the United Nations General Assembly and the United Nations Security Council are the ones who vote for them, and they do 9-year terms. Now the elections, in case you're curious, the elections are held in New York during the autumn session, and once elected, people go into become a judge starting February 6th. So elections are held in New York, 9-year terms, 15 judges. And also, as it says here, the court has 15 judges. One of them is the president and one's the vice president. So this is pretty important. And if we go here to this next page, you can see, I'm going to bring it up here. You can see who the current members of the judge are. Now, this is probably the most important part because, like we said, it's a 15-judge panel, and these 15 judges get to decide who's right and who's wrong in this case. They get to make the verdict. Now, from what I've read, it seems to be that each judge is from a different country, and generally it seems that the judges reflect the official position of their country. So look at the screen here. If you can see the current judges, no surprise, the president of the court is an American. You can see Joan Donahue. Okay, so she's the president of the court. The vice president of the court is from Russia. Now I'll just scroll down. You can see that we have a Slovakian judge, a French judge, Moroccan judge, so on and so forth. Now I just did my quick, there's really no factual basis to this, but I just did my quick overview of what I think which judges will vote in favor of South Africa just based on what I've read about that country's policy. And if you go down, again, 15 judges, so if you get 8 of them to agree, then you can win the case. So if you go down here, I'm just going to count them. How many judges I think will vote in favor of South Africa just based on their country's policy, and this is kind of just a guess. But so 1, the vice president from Russia. I think Russia certainly is going to vote in favor of South Africa and against the U.S. and Israel. Then we have France. From what I've seen, France is kind of leaning towards the Palestinian side, so I think we can count on France. Morocco, that's three. Morocco's an Arab Muslim country, so I assume they're going to go in the favor of the Palestinians. Somalia, another Muslim country, I assume they're going to go in the favor of the Palestinians, so that's four. Then we have China, that's five. Uganda, another Muslim country, is six. India and Jamaica, I'm not sure, so I'm not going to count them. And then we have Lebanon, of course. Lebanon, number seven. Of course, they're going to go in the Palestinian favor. That's seven. And then Brazil, who's been a huge proponent of Palestinian rights for a long time. So that's 8 judges already right there. 8 judges that I think for sure will vote in favor of South Africa. 7 judges that potentially will vote in favor of Israel and United States. Trial, the jury has to all unanimously come up with one verdict. If not, it's a hung jury. I'm not sure if that's how it works in the International Court of Justice, if it's just a majority decision or if they all have to come up with one decision. If anybody finds that info, and let me know. I've been looking around. I can't see exactly how they come up with. It seems like they all have to come up together with an agreement. Now, on top of the 15 judges that make up the panel, the countries that are in dispute, so South Africa and Israel, if each of those countries don't have a judge that's representative of their nation, then they're allowed to appoint their own judge. So in this case, South Africa does not have, there are no South African judges on the panel, and there are no Israeli judges on the panel. So both of them are allowed to appoint their own judges to be a part of the panel. So now the court is going to go from 15 to 17 judges. Both South Africa and Israel both decided to appoint their own judge. So now the panel is going to be 17. Now I'm going to bring up right here who the judges are. Okay. So as you can see right here, so Israel picks Holocaust survivor judge for genocide case, surprising some. So Israel has decided to elect, this guy's name is Aharon Barak. He's a retired Israeli Supreme Court president. He fought the government's judicial overhaul plan, but it chose him for the panel hearing a case. Okay. So Israel has picked this guy, Aharon Barak, to be one of the judges on the panel. If you want to read more about him, you can go ahead and do that. South Africa has appointed, as you see right here, Judge Dikgang Mozanik. I'm sure I butchered his name, but you can look him up. So both Israel and South Africa have their own judges. Now, just a little bit about the legal team that's going to be representing each country. So I'll bring up this document here. As you can see, Israel has decided to have a British lawyer defend themselves. He goes by the name of Malcolm Shaw. And if you see his photo here, I mean, he literally looks like he could be a villain from a movie, but I'm sure he's a great lawyer. But so Israel is using British lawyer Malcolm Shaw to represent them. And the South Africans have a whole team of lawyers that are going to represent them. It looks like it's being led by this gentleman here. His name is John Dugard. And he's going to represent South Africa in this case, in this trial. And then you can see here there's a long list of other lawyers that are going to represent South Africa. This lady here, they have a whole team of lawyers. To sum it all up, tomorrow is going to be a hugely important day. I mean, this is public hearings for a genocide case against Israel. And a lot of experts believe that the court will rule in favor of South Africa and will issue provisional measures demanding that Israel basically cease and desist its operations. Now, if that happens, that's going to be that has potential to be a historic, monumental ruling. Because basically, the International Court of Justice, which the U.S. is a party to, and Israel and South Africa are a party to, potentially is going to tell Israel that there's enough evidence to show that you are potentially committing genocide, and therefore you must cease and desist any military operation. Now, if that happens, by law, any country that's in the United Nations is obligated to actively prevent a country from committing genocide. And as we know, the United States of America has been sending hundreds of millions of dollars and billions of dollars of weapons and money to the state of Israel. So if the court rules against Israel, that's going to put the United States in a huge bind. I don't see how they could legally rationalize sending military weapons and money to Israel when the court that they started says that Israel is committing genocide. Anyway, guys, that's all I have for today. Again, look forward tomorrow after the oral arguments from South Africa. I'm going to make a reaction video to that. On Friday, when Israel does their oral arguments, I'm going to do another reaction video to that. And of course, when the verdict comes out, which is hopefully in a week or two after the oral arguments, I'll do another reaction video to that. All right, thanks guys.